Hello everybody, welcome back. And if you're new, my name is Chris, and on this channel I talk about perfumes. Tonight my video is all about winter florals, fragrances that are predominantly floral that I love to wear or I'm currently wearing while it's really cold. Even though this is the last week of January here in the Midwest, at least where I live, it stays cold for a while. So I have plenty of time to wear these beautiful fragrances that I have behind me. I think I have about 12 or 13 that I narrowed it down to. The fragrances that I have pulled this evening kind of run the gamut from those that I've had for 10 to 15 years to fragrances that are very new in my wardrobe. I have some affordable options. I have some really high-end fragrances you've heard me talk about, and some that you've never heard me talk about, at least on video. And since I'm planning on filming 2 videos tonight and it is already past 9:30 p.m., I am just going to get started. So the first fragrance that I just randomly pulled off the mantle is a fragrance that I have not talked about in a long time. I think I've only talked about it in maybe a couple videos. It is a fragrance, in my opinion, that is suited for the cold weather, and it is a floral dominant fragrance. And since it is in my winter florals, it is a fragrance that has a prominent note of rose. It is by the house of Fragrance Du Bois, and it is called New York 5th Avenue. When you first spray it, it has a pretty strong note of a citrusy note, which I believe it's bergamot. It's a bergamot and rose, kind of a bright bergamot rose fragrance. In order to really love this fragrance, you have to like rose, you have to like woody notes, you have to like some sweet notes like caramel. But I will say that even though the oud is prominent and it is noticeable, it is kind of smoothed out by the caramel and the rose. So it's not overly predominant. This has a powderiness in the dry down, which I believe is from a little bit of violet. And that violet not only gives it a little bit of powderiness, but I think it adds to the sweetness. This is a very elegant and refined fragrance. This is not a powerhouse. This is something that's going to stay fairly close. The scent bubble is small. It's not overpowering. One of the things I really like about it, besides having some of the gorgeous notes that I love, it is on the more demure side. So, you know, maybe six to 8 sprays, I'll get about a half day, and then it basically becomes a skin scent, which is perfectly fine. Sometimes I just want a quiet, elegant, refined fragrance that only I know about, and that's when I pull this one. It tends to be like a cold, overcasty day when I pull for this one. So I'm going to start my list with New York 5th Avenue. So this next fragrance I've had in my fragrance collection the longest. I think this is my 3rd bottle. It's a classic. It's a classic in my collection, and it is very affordable designer fragrance, and that is my gorgeous Ange au Diamant by Givenchy. This is an ambery floral fragrance. This has white flowers, it has orchid, there's lily in here, I believe there's saffron, a little bit of mandarin. It's just a deep, sweet, rich, and I would say kind of sensuous fragrance. There's some sweetness from vanilla tonka and some warmth, woody warmth from some kind of wood. I want to say maybe amber wood. There's some sort of nice, smooth, woody note in here. I have said before on prior videos that this is white florals meets root beer meets cherry chapstick, and that's kind of in my opinion, sums up this beauty. This is a reformulated bottle, and I will tell you from having the pre-formulation was really strong. This one still, I get really good performance. I get at least half day. So as long as I can get around 4 to 6 hours, you're not gonna get a full day, but you're gonna get a strong, I would say, you know, maybe 6 sprays, I get at least 6 hours with this one. It is gorgeous, and I think I will have this in my collection for a while. So the next 2 fragrances I'm going to talk about at the same time because they're kind of sister fragrances. The first one is one of my favorite winter florals. I love this one. You've heard me talk about it before, and it is L'Interdit Givenchy L'Interdit Intense, the EDP. And the newer one that I have in my collection, the one that came out in 2021, this is the L'Interdit Rouge. Now, I will say I've had this one for probably over a year, and this one, or the Rouge, I've had several months. And I think I'm off on my own when I say that after having both, I still prefer the Intense version, and I'm gonna tell you why. I love this fragrance because it's super unique. You get this really strong black pepper, patchouli sesame in the opening, very noticeable. I love I love that combination of notes. It just smells so sexy to me. It's gorgeous. You've got those Lintude florals, which are the tuberose, orange blossom, more orange blossom. I think I get a darker orange blossom. This one dries down sweet, so this is kind of creamy. It's a little bit vanillic and woody in the dry down. I think this is a beautiful, deep, dark, sexy, warm fragrance. I just, love this one. The Rouge, on the other hand, is kind of the juicier, lighter, more citrusy, and a little bit zingier flanker. It's very nice. I can see why people like it. I can see why I've heard people say this could be their signature scent, and I understand why. It's very pretty. I do smell that, whatever that is in the beginning. I think it's ginger and blood orange. There's something very juicy and zesty and citrusy, and I really like that. This one to me is a little bit lighter, it's a little bit brighter, it's a little bit more playful. The florals are a little b's more prominent. This one, the tuberose comes out more, and I think in the Intense one, to me, the orange blossom comes out a little bit more. There's some sort of like a green note, maybe like 5 minutes in, and I think there's a pimento leaf in here. Maybe that's what I'm getting. So it's juicy, it's citrusy, it's a little bit brighter, it's a little bit fresher, there's a little bit of greenness to it. The florals are more prominent. I get more tuberose, less orange blossom. I prefer orange blossom, but I can see why people like this more, particularly if you're a big tuberose lover. This one does not dry down as sweet, but there is some sweetness in here. I do not know if there is like a vanilla tonk in here, but it's sweet to me in the dry down, not as sweet as this one. So two pretty florals. This one is beautiful. This one, it's a like, not a love. This one is a head over heels in love. And so two really nice florals that I think perform really well in the wintertime. This one I can see a springtime scent. This one I put away when the weather gets warmer. This one is also powerhouse. This is like, 4 to 6 sprays will get me all day. This one is a little bit lighter. It's not as strong, but it still has really good performance. So two really nice florals that are great for this cold weather. So this next one is basically kind of brand new to my collection. I think I've had it for about a week. I have been on the wait list for this one since this summer, and I got a notice a couple weeks ago that this was back in stock, and I basically dropped everything that I was doing, ran to my computer, and ordered this baby before it went out of stock again. I have several from the Confidential collection from Carolina Herrera, and this is Burning Rose. This was the only one that I bought blindly. And the reason why I felt comfortable buying blindly is I have loved basically every other fragrance I have purchased from the Confidential collection. I love spices, and I really enjoy almost all rose fragrances, so I thought it was a safe bet, and it turned out to be a really safe bet. This is a really beautiful rose. It's a rose fragrance that doesn't smell exactly like anything I own. It's more of it smells like kind of a amalgam of several fragrances that I have. So it's kind of a melting pot of several fragrances, but it still has a special uniqueness. Now I don't get anything burning. I don't get anything smoky. To me, this is a spicy, slightly sweet rose that is a little bit woody, and it is powdery in the dry down. So some of the notes in here, this has rose, there's pepper, I think there is ginger, there's patchouli, and some other spices, I think for sure cinnamon, but the pepper is more prominent than the cinnamon. There might be some cardamom in here. I feel like I smell a little bit of a spicy cardamom note. The rose is sweet, but it's not jammy sweet, and it has this gorgeous powdery dry down. There's some wood in here. There's something, maybe it's cedar, but there's something woody in the dry down also. It's kind of woody and a little bit powdery. This is beautiful. I'm really glad I bought it. Not blind buy safe at all. I will say that I have found these very easy to get samples or decants from because they are expensive and they're not good ones to blind buy. I would never recommend blind buying these. So at least for me, I'm super glad that I picked this up and it is part of my collection now. So this next one is fairly new in my collection, but it is already one of my favorite floral fragrances. I love this. And I found out about this from doing a sample swap with my friend Giselle over at GB Fragrances. She's kind of slowed down on YouTube, but she has a phenomenal and very successful Instagram page. I highly recommend you checking it out. Super fun, super creative. But we did the sample swap. She has an amazing collection, and one of the ones in there was this one, Atlas Garden. And I did not think that this was going to be one of the fragrances that was at the top of my list. She had a bunch that she sent me that I thought I was going to for sure buy a full bottle, and it turned out that this one, the day that I wore it, I bought a full bottle. This is gorgeous. This is one of two florally gourmands that I'm going to talk about tonight. This one is a beautiful orange blossom, date, tonka bean, vanillic fragrance. In addition to orange blossom, I think there's a little bit of neroli. So neroli can come off a little bit bitter to me. So there is a little bit of a green bitterness, which I believe that it's the neroli, but that doesn't stick around forever. It kind of burns off. Then you get this gorgeous orange blossom with a little bit of like a sweet, creamy nuttiness that I think is from these dates. I think there's a little bit of almond in here. I get a little bit of an almond vibe. There's tonka bean in the dry down. It's sweet, it's gorgeous. It is a strong fragrance. You do not have to overspray, like 6 to 8 sprays. You are going to get all day and you're gonna smell it all day. It's gorgeous. I have been wearing a ton, and I see myself wearing this definitely into the spring and maybe summer, we'll see. But it is a gorgeous florally gourmand for the cold weather. This next one is the prettiest vanillic white floral fragrance I own. I adore it. It is one of the prettiest, long-lasting, crowd-pleasing, compliment getter, gorgeous fragrance, long-lasting powerhouse. 100 Silent Ways, I've talked about it so many times. Other people have talked about it. It's just a, you know, it's got all these beautiful, it's got white flowers in here, but there's a little bit of a fruitiness. There's peach, there's sandalwood, there's this gorgeous vanilla. So really you have to like sweet fragrances, because to me this is very sweet. This is strong. It projects like crazy. It's a powerhouse. It lasts all day. This is a wintertime and a springtime staple for me because spring here is very cold. So this beauty gets a lot of wear in the winter and the spring. So this next perfume is very special to me. It is by a house that I discovered last year. They created a vanilla that is, in my opinion, a masterpiece. It is gorgeous. It is a desert island fragrance. I love and adore it. So you can imagine how excited I was when I found out they were having a new release. I was even more thrilled when they reached out to me and told me that they would send this to me as a gift. I think it was their way of saying thank you for showing them so much support, because I do purchase fragrances from them myself. And in fact, I just purchased another fragrance for them. So that makes four fragrances from EBK that I own. So I was thrilled when this showed up at my door because it has notes that I love. But when it first got to me, I let it sit in the box. I just wanted to wait for a special time to wear it. And then I thought that was silly. Beautiful fragrances like this, they don't deserve to sit in a box. They deserve to be worn, whether or not I'm sitting at home in my jeans and a sweatshirt, or I'm dressed up to the nines going somewhere. So I have been giving this beauty a workout. This to me is 2 fragrances in one. You still have that beautiful core EBK vanilla that is in Ruby in Vanilla Intense. So that's one part of the fragrance. And the other half, this is like 2 fragrances in one. The other half is this bright, citrusy, fresh, a little bit aromatic fragrance that when combined, I think makes a beautiful fragrance. This is a great fragrance in my opinion for the cold. I am certain I'll be wearing this in the spring and probably the summer. Those who live in warmer climates will find this a very appropriate and fitting fragrance for that kind of weather. This is a great winter floral. So the notes in here, you have that vanilla, you have neroli, which is a little bit green. There's no bitterness in here. There's orange blossom. There's a little bit of a fresh aromatic touch from lavender. There is a beautiful amber in the dry down. It's sweet. It's a little bit musky and just a touch woody. This fragrance, like all the EBK fragrances I own, have amazing performance. The longevity is great. The sillage is great. You will smell this all day. It will last all day. So I am loving and adoring this beautiful bottle of Ruby in Vanilla Neroli. So another floral gourmand on the list is a fragrance I don't even know if I've ever talked about it on camera, but I've had it for almost 2 years. I bought this in the summer of 2020, and I always assumed that it was a summertime fragrance until I started wearing it in the cold. And it is by Versailles, and it is called Blondine. Now, this is a lily-centered fragrance, so the prominent floral to me is lily, but this is a gourmand because it has these amazing, delicious notes that offset that lily. There's butter, there's caramel, there is cacao in here, there is a note of salt, I think there's suede and musk. So those notes kind of come together to form a gorgeous, so those notes come together to form this gorgeous, like a florally cake, a non-sweet florally cake. It doesn't sound very appealing, but trust me, if you had a cake that smelled like this, I'd be all over it. This is not a sweet fragrance, even though there's caramel in here, there's cacao, there's probably vanilla. It's not sweet. And I think that's the suede, that's the salt, and that's the butter kind of coming together to keep it from being too sweet. So this is a very unique, stunning, gorgeous fragrance. The performance is good. I can get at least a solid 4 to 6 hours, and then it kind of fades away. So gorgeous, beautiful fragrance that I didn't see at first as a great winter floral, but wearing it over the past month, I have proved myself wrong. This is a year-round, but I think it's gorgeous in this cold weather we're having. So another fragrance that is very new to me, I think I've only had this for 2 weeks. I posted it on Instagram. It is by Thierry Mugler, and it is called Wonder Bouquet. And I bought this fragrance because I have these weird obsessions with strange or unusual or unique fragrance notes. In the past year or two, it's been rice. I have scooped up, I think, every fragrance that has a note of rice in it. I just find that note very interesting in fragrances, and I have loved or strongly liked all the fragrances that I have purchased with rice. My newest craze is the note of bread or biscuit. Now I'm like really into finding fragrances with that note. And guess what? This fragrance right here has the note of brioche. So I was super excited to get my hands on it. This also has a nutty note. I really like fragrances that have nuts in them. This one is hazelnut. So I found this and I blind bought it. And the day I got it, when it got to my house, it was like the box is gorgeous. The bottles, these bottles are very substantial and heavy. They're just gorgeous. And I've tried to find others in this line. Unfortunately, this line has been discontinued. There's a musk in this line that I have looked everywhere. It's only sold at the Paris Mugler store. I'm still trying to figure out how to get that one. So I was super happy to get this one. And as soon as this fragrance got to me, I sprayed it. I ran to my computer and bought a backup because this is a floral fragrance that I really enjoy, particularly one that has a prominent note of jasmine. Jasmine and I kind of have a very touch and go relationship. I can enjoy certain types of jasmine, like heady, indolic, animalic jasmine. Really, it just gives me a headache, so I can't do it. But I was super happy that there was a Mugler jasmine that I could wear, and I actually really, really love this fragrance. So the jasmine in here, it is soft. It is a Mugler jasmine. It's almost like an alien-esque jasmine, but it is way softer. It's diluted. It's a little bit more tame. There's nothing indolic about it. It's sweet, and it's not animalic, and it's not super heavy. So it's perfect for me. And one of the days in the past couple weeks, I actually did a side-by-side. This one and Blondine, I wore them side by side, and I was surprised. This one, I could smell on my clothes the next day. Listen, it's been so cold. It's been in the single digits. I've been wearing turtlenecks up to here. So yes, I spray on clothes. This one, Wonder Bouquet, was going strong on my clothes the next day. It was going strong to the end of the day, and Blondine had kind of petered out by the end of the day. I couldn't smell it at all, but this one has really great longevity, lasting power. So gorgeous, sweet, tame, slightly muted jasmine with a little bit of bread, a little bit of gourmand floral that I have been loving this ever since I got it. So the next two I'm going to talk about really quickly side by side because I've spoken about them a gajillion times recently with at least one of them, and that is Pure Poison. But to me, this is a perfect winter floral. Like when I'm wearing winter white, I love to wear winter white. I love to wear winter white sweaters, you know, turtleneck sweaters. Anything winter white, I like to get my hands on. So when I'm dressed head to toe like a snowball, I love to wear this one because to me, that's how this reads. This is a gorgeous white floral, amber, a little bit citrusy, a little bit fruity fragrance that just kind of reads winter snow queen. It's lovely. It's got a little bit of sandalwood, and it's just, I don't know, it just works really, really well as a floral in the wintertime. Very strong, very long lasting, gorgeous fragrance. Definitely would wear it in the spring, maybe not in the hot parts of the summer, but beautiful winter floral. The next one I talk about too all the time, Guimauve de Noël, which translates into Christmas marshmallow. Of course, I'm gonna be wearing this in the cold. So in France, these orange blossom marshmallows are very popular. So this smells like a marshmallow made of orange blossom or orange blossom water. So this is orange blossom, sugar, vanilla. That's basically what's in here. It is a sweet, light, a little bit sugary, slightly fluffy orange blossom fragrance. When I wear this, my daughter says I smell like a creamsicle. This is one that I do wear year round, and maybe because of the name, I just think it's absolutely winter appropriate, but it's a gorgeous fragrance that I've had for a couple years and I love. So the very last one is a fragrance that if I've talked about before on camera, it's only been one time. Although I did post this to Instagram, this was my fragrance of the day. It is kind of it's a hidden gem floral for certain people. It's not for everyone. It's certainly not universally appealing, but I think for a certain subset of people, this is a beauty. And it's by Théo Cabanel. I have several Théo Cabanels, and this is called Alahine. So this is a sweet, resinous, spicy, ambery floral. This is a very strong ylang ylang rose that's kind of smothered in some sort of resinous note. I believe it's benzoin. There's a spicy leatheriness to this, which is probably labdanum. There's a little bit of pepper in here. There's a gorgeous patchouli in the dry down, and it gets sweet in the dry down, which I'm assuming is from vanilla. I have not looked up the notes for this in a long time. This has a nostalgia to it. It smells similar to something I've smelled in the past. It smells slightly vintage. It smells a little bit like in the same category as Samsara. So this could be Samsara's cousin. It doesn't smell like Samsara. It's not a dupe, but it's very, very similar. So for people who like that type of fragrance, they may like this one as well. And I say hidden gem because I don't think I've ever seen anyone talk about this one. So yeah, it's not my favorite. So this is done really, really well in the wintertime. I would never wear this in the summertime. This is a strong fragrance. The notes together, they just, for me, I don't think I'd enjoy this in the summertime. It would be too strong. So I'm gonna end the list with Alahine. So that was it, a quick rundown of some of the florals that I have been really enjoying and loving in the cold. And like I said, here in the Midwest, it's gonna be cold till well into May. And I know a lot of my viewers live in Canada, so they're going to be wearing their cold weather fragrances also for a long time. So you guys know the drill. If you have any beautiful winter floral fragrances that you love to wear, I'd love to hear about them in the comment section, so go ahead and drop me a line down there. Thanks again for watching. Thanks for coming by. Thank you for supporting me. If you enjoyed this video, I am not gonna complain if you give me a thumbs up. And with that, I will see you on the next one.